welcome to my channel. Today we're making a beautiful fall wreath using paper leaves cut out with Cricut and dyed with ink. Start by placing cream colored cardstock onto a Cricut mat. I'm using a 24-inch long mat here, which is super useful because I can cut out leaves on 2 pieces of cardstock at a time. However, I would recommend using the blue mat instead of the green one because I found the green mat to be way too sticky and it did cause a few of my leaves to rip. I'm in Cricut Design Space now, and I inserted a 12-inch circle because that is the size of the wreath form I'm using. I duplicated the circle and I'm making it a bit smaller than the first one and arranging it inside the larger circle. Select both circles and click on Slice. Take away the extra parts until you are only left with the outer ring. Now I'm clicking on Images and searching for leaves, filtering for free images. This is going to be my main leaf for the design, so I'm importing that first, and I'll add a few more later on. I'm just changing the color of the wreath form. No real reason why. And now I'm adjusting the size of the leaf, sort of deciding how I want to arrange this and figuring out the placement of the leaves and what size I'll need to cut out. This is just giving me a guideline and a starting place. And I'm changing the colors of the leaves because I'm going to be doing a mix of red, orange, green, and yellow. And this is all just for my visual purposes right now. I'm continuing to duplicate and add lots of different leaves, adjusting the sizes a little bit and arranging them along the wreath form. Now I'm adding in this other leaf here, more of a pointy one. And I also added in this other leaf I'm going to be making green. This one has more foliage vibes, in my opinion, with all the different sections of the leaf. And I'm carrying on arranging all of these, changing the layering, sending to the back or the front, and adjusting the sizes and the colors. Then I decided I wanted all the leaves going in the same direction. So I changed around the positioning of some of those leaves there. So they're all pointing and flowing around in a circle. Once I have all of the leaves on here, I took a picture of it with my phone so I could have the visual of the different color schemes and where I might want some of the different leaves to go. Then I selected all of the leaves and changed them to the same color. I also got rid of the ring because I won't be cutting that out. The reason for changing the leaves all to the same color is because I am going to be cutting them out with the same color of cardstock, the cream color that you saw earlier. Now, the default for Cricut is to show you everything on the 12 by 12 inch mats, and we are going to be cutting out on the 24-inch long mats. Now, the cardstock I have is 8.5 by 11. So I have to make sure I don't have any leaves that are going to be going over that border of the 8.5 by 11 paper when it's on the mat. To move things around, just click on one of the images and you can see these 3 dots in the corner. Then click Move Object, and I'm selecting a new mat to move the leaf to. And now I'm moving around all the leaves so they line up with where I put the pieces of cardstock on my mats. This took a lot of rearranging and was a little bit time consuming, but it did all work out. It would be a lot easier if you had 12-inch by 12-inch pieces of cardstock. Unfortunately, I just found the 8.5 by 11, so it was a little trickier. Once I have everything arranged, finally, I have 4 different mats here that I'm going to be cutting out. And I'm clicking continue, and then I have to select my material. I'm using 65-pound cardstock, so I'm selecting that option, which is listed as light cardstock. And now it's time to cut it out. I loaded the 24-inch long mat into my Cricut Maker, and now it is cutting out all of the leaves. You could, of course, use the Explore if that's what you have. Now I'm weeding out all the leaves. I peeled off the excess paper, and now I'm using my little Cricut metal spatula to lift the leaves off the mat. Make sure to go very slowly for this. I was a little bit too quick on some of them and did rip a couple, but it didn't really end up mattering anyway. Now to color the leaves, I am using Distress Oxide ink. I have candied apple, spiced marmalade, peeled paint, and mustard seed. I have these little mini foam brushes, and I'm using these to get the ink onto my leaves. I pressed the little sponge into the ink, and now I'm starting along the edges of each leaf and then dragging the ink toward the center because I want the outer edges to be darker than the center. I started putting a little piece of paper where I wanted my fingers to go because I was getting my fingers totally covered in ink and it was a little bit hard to wash off in between each color and I didn't want the color to transfer via my fingers. Now that I have the outer edges as red on this leaf, I want the center to be orange to give it that nice fall leaf dimensional look. So I took the orange ink and I'm spreading that in the center of the leaf. And I just love how this turned out. For the next leaf, I'm doing a very similar effect. This time I'm starting with the orange ink and I'm going all around the edge of the leaf and dragging the excess toward the center. This ink was so easy to use and I just love the effect so much. The colors are stunning. So perfect for fall. For this one, to add a little dimension, I'm using the yellow ink in the center of the leaf. There are so many different ways you could do this with different colors or even the same color. For example, this next leaf here, I'm just using green and I'm making sure the outer edges are dark and then having the inner parts of the leaf lighter. On another one of these same leaves, I also did the green around the edges and then added yellow ink in the center. It's so versatile. This is why I loved using the ink on the plain cardstock as opposed to using colored cardstock, which you could totally do. But I just think this ink is so cool and it's so much more realistic to have all these different shades and colors and dimensions and it's just so fun. Here I'm showing you some of the different leaves that I created and all the different colors. You can see how much variation you can get by just using those 4 ink colors. For the wreath form, I'm using this 12-inch one from Michaels. And now I'm arranging all the leaves onto the wreath. As I said before, I did take a photo of the design that I made on Cricut Design Space. So I am looking at that on my phone as a guideline of where I want all the different leaves to go. But I'm also just going with the flow and seeing what I like. To put it all together, I'm using this liquid craft glue. I thought the craft glue worked really well in this situation because it dries clear and it doesn't create any bumps or anything like hot glue sometimes can. So I really liked that. One thing I wish I would have done is add the green leaves at the end because I did want them to stick out a bit more, and by adding them first as the bottom layer and then adding all the other leaves on top, they did get a little bit hidden away. So I would recommend putting the orange, red, yellow leaves down and then sticking the green leaves on the back on the other side of the wreath so you can have them poke out a little bit more if that's what you're going for. Once I'd glued all my leaves down, I did feel like some of the spots were a little sparse. I think I added more in certain sections than I had planned to, but that's okay. I just went back in Cricut Design Space and cut out a few more leaves, dyed them, and now I'm adding them to my wreath. That is the beauty of this. You can customize it however you want, add as many leaves as you want. You can keep on going until you think it looks perfect. You can see what I was referring to earlier about adding leaves to the back. I flipped it over and I'm gluing some of them to the back side of the wreath for even more dimension and to make some of them stick out different ways. And now my wreath is complete. All the leaves are on here. How good does this look? I love these colors so much. Now, of course, we have to add some twine so we can hang it up. I'm cutting a piece of this twine and then flipping over the wreath And I'm tying knots in the ends of the twine, then hot gluing it to the wreath. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.